Hey all, welcome to another episode of the Make It Big podcast. My name's Hayden and we're doing something a little bit different in this episode. Des from Goodbye Poor Hello Rich is interviewing me and we dive deep into my story, literally from where I started, which was cutting lawns, cutting hedges, starting a gardening business, which I then scaled, multiple other business, and then to where I am now, which is having sold millions online, completely transformed my life in that respect, built an agency, building this podcast, blah, 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 blah. We're going to dive deep into my story, how I did it, starting from gardening and cleaning to where I am now. I hope you enjoy. Make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you very, very soon.
Hayden, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on here and in person as well.
It's a big one, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problems at all. Right, so this is a weird one, right? Hayden's just interviewed me for his show, and now we flipped this and I'm interviewing him for my show, and we've got this podcast studio that is awesome. So it looks different to the ones that I usually do where I'm sat in my kitchen, and it's actually much more comfortable as well, which is nice to know. Right, you and I, we've been friends and networked for, blimey, well before I even started this podcast, and it feels like this is far too late. So firstly, I apologise. But now we got you on, man. Let's make this a good one. Everybody who follows me is likely to follow you as well, and they would have seen you on their socials, on their YouTube. But, mate, talk us through everything that you've done over, what must be last 6 years?
About 6 now, yeah.
Yeah, so talk us through how you actually got started and what it was that made you get to where you are now.
Oh, interesting. All the way back, yeah?
Yeah.
So 6 years ago was the e-commerce journey, you know? 6 years ago was the e-commerce journey, but 7 years. So 2019, December 2019.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. About 6 years. I started my first business at 19, and that was a gardening and landscaping business, you know? So quit my job at the coffee shop because someone was asking me to do stuff which wasn't part of the job role, like clean ceilings and stuff.
Oh, right.
Scrape dirt off the ceilings. I was like, I'm not doing that. Handed in my notice. She didn't think I would, but I handed in my notice. And then after that, I then went ahead and with my business partner, my mate at the time, started a gardening and landscaping business. Wasn't very passionate about it myself, but I kept going with it and kept going, and you know, both put in work to that, and then we built that to 3 vans, you know. So I was like 21 years old and we had 5 people working for us and 3 vans, and that was all good. I then got a lot of confidence from that. I was still pretty naive though, so I went and thought that I could just be the next Bill Gates in a couple of years. So I went and started these other businesses. I had a subscription box business, which was e-commerce as well.
What's
not on Amazon. It was called Bare Essentials. So what we were doing was, boxing up a load of items, like in a bundle, funny enough, boxing up a load of items similar to what a lot of people do today in bundles, but it was all Shopify, like Facebook ads, and it was your Bare Essentials, it was called. So the logo was a bear, and it was meant to be men's bare essentials, so your ear stuff and your toothbrushes and stuff like that.
Right.
But the problem with that is that you could get it at a supermarket. So it was a good learning curve for us. And, you know, we put 50 quid, 100 quid on Facebook ads and expected to get rich overnight. And obviously that didn't happen. So we're just mega naive, you know. that then led me on to a cleaning agency. So we started a cleaning agency because the problem with the gardening business, the way we grew that, we got out of it because winter was a real bugger. You know, Simon Squid, I just did a story on him. Obviously, I had him on my podcast as well. He said that the big thing about the gardening business for him was winter as well. And no one thinks about it until you're actually in it. You know, it's 3 or 4 months a year. You think it's going to be all right. It's not all right at all. So had the gardening business, that you know, was a struggle. So we thought, maybe if we do a cleaning agency, then we don't have to worry about winter because we're working inside.
Absolutely.
So I was cleaning people's toilets.
Right.
I was cleaning, whatever, like cobwebs out of old ladies' houses, old men's houses and stuff like that. And so was my business partner. And then we built up this, turned it into an agency, and we had 5 or 6 cleaners working for us as well. So did all these things, but all of them got to a certain level. And then we thought, no, this isn't for us. And then we moved on again. So we went back to the gardening, built that up again, got it good. And then, but yeah, something was not letting me push it any harder. You know, it really wasn't for me, like working outside, manual labor, I sort of felt like I did enough of it.
Yeah.
So then I went off on my own just to tick over, just to still earn some income. I got myself a van and was just doing gardening on my own, and 150 quid a day, 170 quid a day, which 8 years ago was quite a lot of money,
Absolutely
and
right.
especially when I was quite young at the time. And then I started researching Amazon, and then I thought I was watching some guy. It's called the Last Amazon Course. It's like a $1 a month or something, and it was like the best course ever. It was all based around private label. I remember like a couple of times I was doing people's gardening, then at lunchtime, chucking it down a rain. Even at lunchtime, I was sitting there watching this course on my phone, just really getting into it, figuring out how you do this stuff, But I was struggling to take that first step. I was just struggling with that self-belief, to be honest. But I just kept looking at it. And then I discovered something called online arbitrage, which was different to private label because you didn't need so much investment. Some guy told me about it on another course that I was on. And I went down that rabbit hole. And then that was a much lower barrier to entry because you only need to risk 500 quid or 1,000 quid or something. You can even start with retail arbitrage. So I ended up doing that. I was buying a bit from retail, going around the shops. I was doing a little bit of online arbitrage, looking for deals, buying it like that. So I started doing that, and that's how I started. Really, I started with £1,000, and then I borrowed another £1,000 off my mum because I couldn't even get a credit card at the time. Paid her back, 2 or 3 months later. Once I'd gone and got a bit more money, and then I got a little loan from the bank a few months later, around about 15,000.
Nice.
So I got a loan from the bank at 15,000. I then went all in on arbitrage, really. And scaled that probably to about $250,000 a year. I think I scaled that to $250,000 a year in the first sort of, it's top of my head, something like that, about $250,000
in sales.
In sales. That was
Incredible.
I think that was probably the second year, maybe 2.5 years in or something.
We in
like
lockdown
that.
at this point.
Yeah, we were in lockdown at that point. Yeah, so scaled it like that. And then I sort of got a little bit fed up with all the price tanking and everything like that. I got fed up with all the price tanking and everything like that. I thought, there's got to be something better. So I discovered Natalie, who's been mentoring me for years now, Natalie Cromie. Big shout out to her. And she told me something called bundles, And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. What's that, And so it's similar to private label, but, you know what it is. But anyone that doesn't, it's similar to private label, but you're still sort of arbitrage on steroids, if you like, isn't it? You can put it in your own boxes, your own gift boxes, whatever. Or just bundle them together without a box, and then you can retain the full buy box. You can retain the full, what's it called?
The IP.
You've got the intellectual property and the listing, and no one else can get on the listing essentially. So I did that overnight. I scrapped the arbitrage literally overnight. I said I'm done with that, and I went all in on bundles.
Wow!
And then within the next 3 months, I made more profit than I'd ever made in my life. I found myself making this was a lot for me at the time, like 3 or 4 grand profit in the first bundle, November I had or December or something like that. And I was like, wow, I'm still living at home at this time. Do you know what I mean? I was like, that was a lot of money back then. I was like, wow, I can actually pay myself, because you need in e-commerce, you need the bigger margins, the bigger ROI, because people forget that you're reinvesting that money into stock.
Exactly.
So I was actually able to extract some money out of the business for the first time properly. And I was like, wow, this is great. So I was all in on bundles, had some really good success, got quite lucky on some products, to be honest, but I think the timing was great. My first bundle, which I ever launched, I've made over 75,000 net profit on that to this day. I've sold over 11,000 of that, I think.
Wow.
11 to 12.
Are you still selling that?
Still selling that now. It's still
That's
my best seller this year. It will still be my best seller, and I started 6 years ago. Loads of competitions come on, but it just shows you how much Amazon loves the old listings. So, I did that. And then I opened up in the USA as well. So as my confidence was building, as my finances were building, as my resources were building, opened up in the USA, scaled that up as well. And then that brings us to now where I think we've done 2.7 million in sales in US dollars, 2.7 million across, since I started about 6 years ago. This month, December, we should cross 200,000 in sales just in this month for our UK store alone, I would say. We're calming down on the US front there, but may do 30,000 in the US as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're sort of, just restructuring that a bit. And then obviously all this time I've been documenting it, which I completely forgot to say, on my YouTube channel. So literally, if you go to my YouTube channel, Mr. Hayden YouTube channel, and go back to the oldest video, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago, something like that. Probably 5 years ago I started documenting it. And then the first video was like Amazon V's TikTok or something like that. Amazon private label V's arbitrage, I think, was my first video.
Right, yeah.
So I started documenting it. Did it on TikTok as well, all that sort of good stuff. Documented the whole journey through the thick, thin, the bad times, the good times. And I also had a few sponsors on there. I was doing affiliate marketing on my YouTube as well. And then as of recent time, I've also started an Amazon PPC agency as well. So I ended up becoming a bit of an expert in Amazon PPC with all the products that I've launched successfully. Done, hundreds of thousands in ad spend for myself. And now for loads of clients, so we thought it was a good idea to launch a PPC agency. So that's where I am now, really. I've got my PPC agency. I've still got my podcast with my media thing, and then I was still selling a lot on Amazon. Really,
Mate, it's incredible, isn't it? It blows my mind. And I knew this about you, of course I did, but it blows my mind how the entrepreneur in you, Amazon is the thing that opens the door.
That's it.
And then away you go. And I think it's essential. Everyone sort of sees Amazon saying, "Oh, do you think it's oversaturated?" You go, "Well, you're looking at it wrong. It's Amazon. It's It's step one on the journey." That's incredible, mate. Good for you. Really, really good. If we go all the way back to the gardening and the cleaning, funny enough, we got our first cleaner a couple of months ago, and the first thing we said is, "Oh, this is a great business model," because it just seems like a really good business model as well, doesn't it? But you're right. People just they completely underestimate the graft that goes in. You must have worked your nuts off for that.
Yeah. Do you mean when I was physically doing it or with the agency managing the staff?
Both.
Obviously, you've got to want to do it, And there's some people that are really passionate about cleaning. There's some people that really enjoy it. We were, a couple of young kids at the time, 21 years old. I remember we had this one client, this sort of slightly older woman. And she said to us, she just came in one day, we were sort of dusting and, all this stuff, cleaning her house. And, she didn't know that we were entrepreneur and we had a few staff members working for us as well. When I say staff, they were subcontracted in through our business. So we were earning when they were working.
Yeah.
And she sort of said to me, "Lads, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life?" Sort of thing, And then my business partner outside, he was outside getting something from the van, which we had all the cleaning tools in. Someone said something to him as well. It really affected him and me, our confidence. They said, "Oh, can't you get a better job than that?" Or something. Really looking down on us and really judging us. And I was thinking, they just think we're cleaners.
Yeah.
They don't know that we've started a business and that, we're doing this entrepreneurial stuff. So, yeah, sorry, I've forgotten what your question was, but it was tough.
Just how much hard work it was. But no, that counts. The mental strain on you as well.
That's why we stopped. That could have been really successful. We stopped because we didn't really have any purposeful meaning towards it whatsoever. We didn't like it, but we let the naysayers get in the way, And we scaled that fast. I mean, when I say scale, we weren't earning loads of money from it, but we were a couple of kids and we had 4 or 5 cleaners working for us. We had loads of the work was coming in, and all we were doing was putting out leaflets.
Yeah.
Really underrated. I built up to 3 vans in my gardening business just doing leaflets, no marketing whatsoever. Me and my business partner on the streets, putting leaflets through letterboxes. We did the exact same with the cleaning. So underrated.
Yeah.
I could definitely sell a course on how to start a service business like that, that's for sure. All you do is put leaflets through the doors. We did that, scaled up, and it was the hardest thing about that was the staff, because a good cleaner works for themselves.
Yeah.
Not all, but a lot of good cleaners work for themselves. So we were struggling to get reliable staff.
Yeah. I don't know whether this is an urban myth, but I had a friend who told me his friend literally walked into one of the buildings in Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
Didn't have a product to his name, but went in and said, "I'm a cleaner. Whatever your contract is, I will charge you less."
Yeah.
And basically got the contract of one of the big high-rises in Canary Wharf.
Wow.
Then he went to another one and said, "I've got the contract at that building." And then he basically had to go out and get his kit. And then he realised that, he had these buildings to clean because he didn't have any staff or anything like that. But that sort of initiative, I think, it's all about the hustle, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, the leaflet drops, people just won't bother doing that these days. They'll stick something on Facebook.
That was the hardest thing mentally, the leaflet drops.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes it was raining, sometimes it was cold.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't, you got to remember, some of my mates are coming out of university at this time, or just about to, doing law degrees, doing business, which sometimes you come out and you still can't get a job.
That's right. Yeah.
But especially the law degrees, the math degrees, they get really good jobs when they come out. So they're coming out, you've got to picture this, they're coming out 60, 70, 80 grand jobs, potentially, maybe start at 50, whatever.
Yeah.
Some of them bankers, whatever, start at 60. And I'm putting leaflets out for cleaning jobs. I'm putting leaflets out to try and cut people's lawn. I was really struggling with that mentally, like for a self-worth point of view.
Yeah, I can get it. I get it. And people do. They look down on people like that for no reason whatsoever, but I can understand it. Yeah, that's fascinating. So then you decided to go in on Amazon. What I love is that you were building it up. You saw the concept and you went, right, that's it. Mum and Dad, lend me some money. Bank, lend me some money. So while you were still fairly fresh, you had a good 17 grand to plough into this business. That's quite a lot to get going with, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. And by the way, I made some really good money from the gardening stuff, but what we'd done is sort of spent. So I had to spend a lot of that on the van and stuff for the gardening business.
Yeah.
So I put 1,000 in myself, and then borrowed 1,000 off Mum. As I say, paid her back within 3 months. Took the loan, but I also then sold the van, and then had that to sort of live off. So I was literally living off the money that I saved from the garden, from the van and everything like that. So yeah, we made good money. What I'm saying, we made good money from the gardening business and everything, but we'd gone and spent like 18 grand of it on a property course before, which I completely forgot. I had a whole property journey as well. So I used to have a property lettings business. I had like things called rent to rent. I don't know if you heard of them. We had like 24 tenants at one stage or something like that.
Wow.
So we had that property business and we invested a lot of money in there and stuff like that. But yeah, that was just, I guess, just another lesson there. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Just on a quick one, what happened with that? How come you stopped doing that? Because the property stuff, having just interviewed Rob Moore, it's a bit of a runner, isn't it?
Well, it depends what model you do.
Yeah.
And once again, like anything, just sticking with it for a long enough time, but wanting to stick with it. I mean, we had a bad business partnership set up, so the profit was really diluted, so there was 3 business partners in it. And some of the property deals we do put a lot of work into it, a lot of effort, because we had to drive out of our area to get these deals.
Yeah.
They were sort of, the rent-to-rents weren't working well in the area where we used to live, because it was a bit too affluent. So we used to have to drive to like Maidstone and do deals over there, that sort of way. And we were putting in a lot of effort, and then we were getting, profit maybe 400 or 500 quid each per house, which sounds good. But when you dilute that with 3 business partners, and then you've got to have at least 30 of them for it to be worth it, haven't you?
Yeah, you do.
It was just a slog, to be honest. I don't like it. It's not a business model that I like.
No, I must admit, I got offered in. I've forgotten his surname. Jack does lots of rent to rent. Jack.
I don't know.
No, mine's blank. But yeah, I got offered into a rent to rent business model when I was just getting going and my numbers got up. Really, really lovely guy. Really genuine opportunity. But yeah, same. I didn't really like. I didn't feel like that industry was me.
No, I didn't like it. And also, if I went back, I'd be like, why would I do rent to rent where I'd take the risk on of renting a property? You've got to guarantee that landlord the rent to get the deal.
Yeah.
You're going to, a lot of the time, cover the maintenance of it. And then you've got to find the tenants, rent it out. And if the tenant doesn't pay, you've still got to pay the landlord.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that again.
No.
All I would do is just start a management business and take 10 or 12% and then not have any risk.
Yeah.
But to me, that's so obvious now.
Yeah.
But back then, it was like, yeah, let's just do that, because I sort of got sold some course.
Definitely, mate. It's amazing how you evolve, isn't
Yeah.
it? So you're in this Amazon. You got a good 15 to 20 grand.
Yeah.
And you're just doing pure OA. You're just literally
Went all in.
shallow and wide, but really wide.
For about a year and a half, I went all in.
Wow.
Yeah, and you could see this on my YouTube channel, the old videos I used to talk about all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just shallow, not wide. Went all in. Built a little bit of a team up and just hit it really hard. Yeah. So
Fantastic.
I really just went in that one thing.
Yeah.
For a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how was that? How was that when you were getting going? So you realised that was going to be a runner more than the gardening business, I guess, and you slowly shut it down.
Yeah. Well, the gardening business definitely could have made me a lot more money straight away, because the difference is with the e-commerce, with the Amazon, like what we just spoke about, you've got to reinvest that money. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with the gardening, like with the e-commerce, it's a business you've got to keep reinvesting. It's stock based, so if you make £4,000 a month net profit according to your sellable dashboard or whatever thing you use, you can't just pay yourself £4,000, because the business will be going down. You need to be probably paying yourself 1,500 or something, because you need the business to be building and you need a buffer there and you need to be reinvesting. I didn't realise that at the time, obviously. So I definitely in the short term would have been better off to stick with the gardening, because I was only 150 quid, 180 quid a day sometimes, just doing gardening, and it's for pure profit.
Yeah.
But I decided, to go in on that. And the reason I went in all in on that and the gardening, on the e-commerce, was because it was just going to give me that level of freedom, being able to work from a laptop, You know, I guess the lazy side of me, if you like, but it wasn't lazy because it was bloody hard work.
Yeah.
But it's much easier to do that than do gardening and cutting
Yeah.
people's hedges for 10 hours a day.
Oh,
I'll tell you that.
bet. So,
Especially in the rain.
were you? How many hours roughly were you working on your Amazon business?
In the early days, all day.
Yeah.
Every day. Even the evenings, like I was living at home with my mum, didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have anything like that. You know what I mean? So
Why
all
not?
the time. Any time that I wasn't out and about, you know, with friends or something, I was just obsessed with it, I'd say. I would say I was highly obsessed.
Yeah,
with
because
making
it's
that
one of the
success.
things that stands out about you, having known you and having known your journey, is your drive in all of it. I'm going to start a gardening business, wallop, 3 vans, staff.
I'd just do it.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Have you tapped into that? Have you tapped into what is it that drives you? What is it that stands you out so you can say, no, I don't care how old I am. I don't care what business model it is. I'm going all in and I'm freaking relentless.
I think it's fear. Yeah, I think it's fear. I think I'm just so scared of failing. Terrified. But so much so that I'm really good at taking action and going after stuff. So but what I'm, it's really good to I would say to have a low level medium business that's making okay money. That's really good for, you know, like that's what I'm really scared of, that fear of failing and the fear of being a loser. So I've got a massive spark inside me that just says, right, I'll start this gardening business and get it to a good stage. I'll start Amazon and get it to a good stage, whatever. Where it's a downfall is when I want to take that thing to the next level. And I've got to take a massive leap of faith or take a massive risk. And then that fear inside of me stops me doing that because I'm worried about building that little success that I've built. In my eyes, little success. Some people say big success. You know?
I know what you mean.
In my eyes, little success. You know, like when I'm talking about wanting to do multiple millions a year, you know, to get to that requires a lot more risk. You know,
it does.
a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Or leaps of faith.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, the fear definitely drives me to just take loads of action, but I struggle once I've got to a certain stage to then to take more leaps of faith because I'm worried about losing what I've built. You know, that's what I'm tackling with at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. It is fascinating because it is a leap of faith, not just financial, but also emotional. Because if it did go wrong, not only have you lost the money that took to get up there, but also there's that fear of failure. And everyone tells you you thrive on it. Failure is a great thing. But sometimes it can also be absolutely demoralising, can't it? And I completely understand that. I really do. It's really interesting. Just listening to you, you can't help but relate it to what's going on yourself as well. What I've found myself doing is I take something to a certain degree on my own and then I tend to collaborate just to spread the risk of financial and emotional, to be honest with you, because it's collectively everyone's fault, you know. But no, it is interesting. But you have done that, though, because you did take your OA and you got to 250,000 and then you took the bundles and you went for that and you're growing, and you are scaling, aren't you, right now?
Yeah, I'd say so. I've definitely noticed it this month where we should do 200,000, maybe even 250,000. I don't know, depending how it works out, as long as the sales go as crazy as they do every year. Which that's the only time when I really notice it, though. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the time, this entrepreneurship stuff just graph. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't really take a minute to look back. I am definitely growing, especially in terms of my internal confidence and the belief I have in myself. But there's still something there. I've got a lot of insecurities around a lot of certain stuff, and definitely what you said about teaming up with other people. That's definitely what I've realised that I need to do. You know, I'm talking to a guy now, which I may be going into business with, about, you know, starting an e-commerce brand together, and I think the deal's going to be done, and that could really scale to the moon.
Nice,
because he ticks all my insecurities that I haven't got. I can bring a lot to the party in terms of what I just said, taking massive action. I've got a lot of experience with e-commerce, but he's an expert in, you know, hiring teams. He's an expert in selling e-commerce brands. He's an expert in branding. He's an expert in basically pushing forwards to scale something to the next level rather than making 100 grand a year. He knows how to make it 500 grand a year and then exit.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue about that stuff.
No.
If I looked at scaling a business of 500 grand profit, the infrastructure of staff on that, the infrastructure of, you know, just, you know, all the systems and operations, that's not my strong point. And I've got a lot of fear around that, to be completely honest. You know, he hasn't. And he knows how to set it up for an exit, you know. So that's sort of what I'm sort of figuring out now. You know what I mean? That I need to work with people that feel my insecurities.
Yeah.
And that's how I think how you level up and, you know.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Again, going back to the Rob Moore thing, it became a bit of a coaching session, and he said that there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. There's just no such thing. That is someone taking the credit for a team's worth of work. And I completely agree. The thing that I like to say lately is that the rising tide raises all ships. If you can get loads of you all together working at it, and the tide rises and you all go up together, that's a lovely thing, mate. Yeah, I completely agree. I really do.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's been one of those, isn't it? The entrepreneur journey, and you know this better than anyone, it just feels like you're putting out fires left, right, centre, and then all of a sudden quarter falls on you. And then for the quarters 1 to 3, there's just a few more fires to put out, and then quarter falls on you again. This year has been savage, isn't it? In terms of the challenges, the policy changes, the general platform. Because you were big on your UK to USA stuff, weren't you? Your bundles. How has the recent change that Amazon did there? Because I think what Amazon are doing is indicative of wider entrepreneurial challenges on any industry.
Yeah.
Your approach to it was amazing, but talk us through how you found out what was coming down the track and how you adapted.
Yeah, so with the UK to USA Amazon stuff that we do, we were 85% arbitrage, by the way, like 15% bundles, and lucky the bundles we do are still going to be okay. They still meet the policy. We were never the 2-pack of, you know, fairy liquid with a sponge bundlers. We never did that. We did sort of what I class as like proper bundles, you know, like gift stuff.
Yeah.
So luckily we're still all right with that stuff. That wasn't actually the reason that I've decided to sort of pull the plug on it. So I decided to stop selling there basically because of I had two staff members just on that. We were spending $5-6 grand a week on stock. A lot of the stock that we were sending in was going expired. Even if it wasn't expired, Amazon were marking it as expired, going into unfulfillable inventory and stuff like that. So thousands of pounds lost. We were a lot of the stuff like brand gating and stuff like that. So we were leaking money from what I see. We're still making good money, but we were leaking money.
Yeah.
And for me, it was more the mental craziness that it was causing inside my head. You know, I just realised that I had to start going after what I really want to go after and take things, you know, a lot more seriously. And it just felt too messy for me.
Okay.
We are going to go back into it, but you know, fully owned branded stuff.
Yeah.
You know, as I say, fully owned branded, fully private label sort of thing, most likely, rather than sort of messing around with arbitrage and all the moving parts. I'm trying to get away from moving parts.
Yeah.
You know, like I find the more simple things are, the easier it is to make more money from it and scale. You know what I mean?
I think you're right. I think Amazon themselves are trying to get away from moving parts as well.
Yeah.
It does feel a bit more brand heavy in the way that they're shifting the policies.
Yeah.
No, fascinating though. It really is.
It's like this. I'll just touch on this. It's like this Christmas, as I say. You know, we should sell 15 to 18,000 of the types of products that we do. You know, we sell a lot of bundles on Amazon. We do 15 to 18,000 of them. But what people don't take into account, it sounds good. What people don't take into account is the fact that if you've got 15,000 or 18,000 bundles and every single item in it has got 7 items in it, I'm sourcing over 100,000 products.
Wow.
For 1 month of sales. Logistically, that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, it's taken the last 2 months haven't been fun because I've been preparing for our biggest month ever.
Yeah.
And it sounds good to say on a podcast. May do $250,000 or 200 grand in 1 month, and we make really good margin on it. That sounds good, and it's worth it because of what we get from it. But the last 2 months haven't been fun. I've been more stressed than I've ever been in my life. You know, and some of that, a couple of that's been taken out of my girlfriend. You know, that's not nice.
No.
I don't like that. I don't like to be stressed when I'm at home. You know, I don't like to be stressed around my mum. I don't like them seeing that side of me, and that's tough.
Yeah.
You know, like, and when it started affecting my personal life, I was like, oh, something's got to give.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why I made the decision for the USA for now.
That's
just not moving parts. Too many moving parts.
I think that's a really, really valuable lesson. And we talked earlier, didn't we, about the non-negotiables? But I think that's exactly it. You can't help it. It is the loved ones that feel the brunt of what you're doing, and it's horrible.
Highly embarrassing.
Yeah.
The other day, I'll be completely honest. I'd never get stressed with my girlfriend specifically or do anything, you know, like aggressive to her or anything like that. But I got stressed with myself, and I you know, had a bit of a funny 5 minutes with myself, to be honest, to put it lightly. You know what I mean? I was sort of like just really frustrated in my house Once again, not to her, she was nowhere near me, but on my own
Yeah,
in our
yeah,
bedroom. But it was just so embarrassing that
Yeah.
she saw me get like that. And like, I'm like, that's not who I am. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah.
there's only so many times that she'd put up with that as well.
Absolutely right.
And I'm well aware of that. And I can have all the money in the world, but if the love of my life doesn't want to be with me because I've acted a certain way,
Yeah.
what are we doing it for?
No, exactly right.
Same with my family, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want, you know what I mean? That's why we're doing it all. So why would I risk that?
Exactly. Nothing is
know?
worth that.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. No, good for you. But I think that's a really important point as well, isn't it? You've got 7 or 8 products per bundle. You're trying to pull them into what is probably either a prep center or a 3PL kind of thing. And then you've got to manage that at that scale. And you're not hands-on. So all of a sudden the control is taken away from you, that you're putting your faith in someone else.
That's
and
the
it's all
issue.
going out.
And I've never wanted a warehouse.
No.
Now I may be doing this brand deal. I may have to get one eventually, but maybe not though, because if you're doing something that isn't, by the way, bundles are great. You can make loads of money from them, but scaling them, totally different ballgame. You know, like if you're scaling stuff, a bundle that's got 7 or 8 moving parts in it, for example, you want to sell 15,000 bundles in 1 month. Yeah, you better be ready for that challenge. You better have the right systems and operations in place. You better have your own premises. Otherwise, it can be a lot of work. If you're scaling a private label brand, you've got 5 products that sell 10,000 a month. Easy.
No problem.
There's other challenges that come with that, but
Yeah.
it's much easier.
Yeah.
You know, you're shipping pallets in and you're forwarding them on.
That's it.
And that's what I've realised. You know, a lot of people have got a lot of fear around scaling, and a lot of the gurus will say that you shouldn't. You know, you got to know what you want, because you know it's going to come with complications, and it does. But it does depend on the model you're doing. Brand deals is very different to private label. Private label is very different to bundles. Bundles are very different to arbitrage. Everyone's got their own challenges.
Yes.
But some I don't think should be scaled.
No, it's a really good point.
Scale more than like a couple of $100,000 a month.
Yeah, and it's not talked about either. And this is what we're saying, like online arbitrage, just scaling up online arb. You're basically buying 6 to 10
tricky.
units of what will end up being hundreds, thousands of SKUs.
So messy.
Yeah.
All that admin. And as you can, I know people that have scaled bundles, by the way. I'm not saying you can't.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like how much money do you need? Because $200,000 a month in bundles, you should be doing some good margins on that. 25% net. If not, you're probably doing something wrong, or you're doing a different type of thing. You don't really need more money than that.
No.
I mean, I would be investing that elsewhere.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or have your own premises if you really want to scale it up. So yeah.
It is fascinating, and it's nice to talk about it again, because this stuff doesn't get talked about.
100%. Yeah.
Scaling up at this level doesn't get talked about. Everyone talks about the dream of starting with a couple of £100 like I do and getting it to this, but if you're doing it on an Amazon only journey, yeah, absolutely. There is a lot to be said about private label. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah, it's a mess. But if you can get over that hurdle, branding for a private label and then exiting, it is probably the cleanest.
Yeah, because what you want to be transferring pallets.
Yeah.
You know, you want to have 5 or 10 SKUs, maybe grow and have 20, 30, 40 SKUs max in your catalogue.
Yeah.
One product. You want that. You want to be sending them pallets to Boots, sending them to Sainsbury's, sending them to Amazon globally, Europe, USA on the pallet loads. And that's it.
That's it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to mess around. If you have your own website and you haven't got a 3PL, then you're going to have to get a warehouse or something.
That's it.
A picker and packer. But if you can sort that out, then you just want to be sending pallets into these different platforms.
Yeah.
So to keep it easy.
I can talk about this now because I didn't do it in the end, but I was going to launch a product that was basically a roll-on wax.
Yeah.
You can, so roll it on, peel it off, blah, 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 blah. This thing, it met all of the metrics on Helium-10.
Yeah.
There was a listing in America that was outstanding that I completely ripped it off, duplicated it over in the UK because they weren't doing it over in the UK. And I thought, this is it. It's a brand. I would sell the honey, and then I would sell the lavender, and then I'd sell the pomegranate or something like that, and build a variety of flavors. Then I would sell the strips. You sell the rechargeable thing, and there was a pluggable thing that you put the cartridge in, and it would heat up the wax. Yeah. This was a brand ready to go, and then basically the TikTok thing came along, and I basically lost my focus, and it's gone. And now the numbers don't work out at all. But that, mate, I was convinced that. Again, you do your research, and you think, I can scale that. That would be a lovely brand that I could scale out. If I do 3 or 4 of those, that's me on a private label journey taken care of. But it's easier said than done, man. Easier said than done. personally as well. I had links into a guy that could renegotiate freight costs, and I had it all laid out. It's amazing how things work out, isn't it?
All of this stuff can be done. Anything can be done. What I've just said, there's some people that are scaling bundles. There's some people that will scale what you've just spoken about. But the reality of it's very different to the theory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you've just got to be willing to take on the challenge. I
Take
think.
the licks.
Yeah. You've got to be willing to take it.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Mark Penn, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
He's nine,
He's
10
great.
figure Amazon seller. He was mentoring me. I went up to his warehouse, spent the day with him there. You look at his operation, and I was like, oh, I want all this. I was like, oh, I want this. I was like, I'm going to do this. And he turned around to me and went, be careful what you wish for.
Oh.
And then he's managing over 100 million in sales or something crazy like that. And he just said, be careful what you wish for, because of the stress that comes with it.
Yeah.
And upon reflection, I was like, I'm not sure I do want this.
No, you know what?
He kept saying, why do you want it? You know what I mean? Why do you want that? You don't need that to have a good life.
Fascinating, isn't it? Because that's the key question you have to ask yourself all the time. Why do I want this? Because funny enough, I saw him on Nevermind the Buy Box when Natalie was interviewing him. And the same thing. It was so clear just how hard he continued to work. And the whole point of this is eventually you want to scale your hours back. And it felt like he was scaling his hours up. I mean,
It's a classic entrepreneur's curse.
Yeah. But speaking of which, so you're pivoting now and you've got your Amazon PPC. We're going to talk about the podcast in a minute, by the way. But you've got your PPC agency. How's that going?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Nice.
So we're the only PPC agency that manages spend affordably, I would say, in the world. There's not another agency that will charge you less than that I know of. Anyone feel free to comment below and let me know. I don't know one that will charge you less than 800 a month, 1,000 a month minimum, and then they take a 2% fee of your profit or something like that as well. We're doing it. We've made it affordable to like everyday sellers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, mainly bundles, but we do private label as well. We start packages 200 quid a month, 250 quid a month, 300 quid a month. Obviously, we've got the bigger boys, 500-600 a month that are doing serious numbers. But affordable PPC management, from experts. We've got a team of high experts that have been doing it for years and years and years. Me and Natalie, obviously doing it together. She's an expert as well.
Yeah.
I'm an expert as well. I consider myself.
Yeah.
I've been doing it a long time now. And it's just a massive gap in the market. No one was doing it affordably, and I know why they weren't, because it's bloody hard work to manage staff, to manage teams on that, to manage clients that are smaller accounts. People would say it's not worth your time.
Yeah, right.
That's why people charge so much.
Results you're getting for others?
Yeah, really good.
Love it.
Yeah, so a lot of them will come on board, and then we take the management away from them. It's not even just the results we get; it's the time they were spending. A lot of people spend an hour and a half a day, 2 hours a day managing their PPC. I know that from first-hand experience, because I still manage mine myself when the team could take it away from me, but I manage it myself just so that I'm in the trenches, still making sure I'm up to date on the PPC stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's the time we take away from them having to do it themselves, but also, some people, it completely depends on how good their product is. All the products, like if you've got a bad bundle, the best PPC in the world isn't going to help. Like you need to have good products. So the clients that come to us that have got really good products, we just plug in the PPC, and all of a sudden their results get, within a couple of months, we'll be decreasing their ACOS, decreasing their TACOS, and just getting them more profitable. But only if they got good products.
I love it. Yeah, good for you.
Good for you.
Yeah, right. Right, let's get onto the podcast. Let's get onto the branding. So you've been documenting the whole thing. You were documenting.
Trudged along for a long time.
Mate, you were one of the channels that I saw as I was learning as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, mate, inspiring stuff. Really inspiring stuff. There's nothing better than seeing someone go from being at home with mum and then earning the money you're earning, talking about $250,000 in a month. Well, 200,000 in a month. But it's just incredible. And when I started my podcast, you told me then that you had always wanted to do a podcast. So, mate, talk us through what it is you're trying to do.
I've been pulled towards it for like 5 years now. And this isn't sort of, some people may think, oh, here we go, Hayden's doing something else again. It was never like that. I've been pulled towards it for 5 years, but I've always struggled with that discipline to say, right, I'm really going to do it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've always struggled with that because the problem is, as you know, when you start, you're not getting paid for it.
No.
You know what I mean? So you've got to really want to do it, because it could be a year or 2 years till you get enough momentum to get paid for it.
Absolutely.
But Also, you shouldn't really be thinking about just getting paid for it, because then you probably don't love it enough as well.
Exactly.
The way what I do is I put something on like a 1-day shelf. You know, learned that from Stephen Bartlett. You know, he said rather than overwhelm yourself trying to do everything in one go, put something on a 1-day shelf if you want to do it. And if it keeps nagging at you, then you know that it's something that you should pursue eventually. It's never stopped nagging me. Every time I look at a podcast, whether it's your Stephen Bartlett's, your Chris Williamson, yourself,
Your Des Hamiltons.
you really inspired me.
Oh, thanks.
You know, because you're a normal guy that's doing it and you're getting success from it. The guy I follow called Callum Johnson, he went from 500 to 120,000 subscribers in a year.
Wow.
But before that, he was doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
Tagging along. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he went that. And I thought, these are normal guys that are doing it. You know, I went and spent time with Stephen Bartlett, as I was just telling you. I went to his flat and watched him record in person. I was like,
That's
this
amazing.
is a real, excuse me, this is a real thing in his kitchen. I thought, fuck's sake, I can do this. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if I can swear on your podcast.
No, you're fine. You were good.
I was like, fuck. I was like, you've got to do it, because if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And I've always wanted to do it. And I just know that I'm going to regret it so badly in 5 years' time if I don't do it.
Yeah.
Now I've got to stick with it.
Absolutely.
You know?
So we're sat in this room, and there's a sign up on the wall here. 90% of podcasts don't get past episode 3. So congratulations, you're already past episode 3, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's 1.8 million who quit. 1.8 million. That's fascinating. Of the 200,000 left, of the 200,000 left, 90% will quit after 20 episodes. That's another 180,000 gone. To be in the top 1% of podcasts in the world, you only need to publish 21 episodes. That's incredible, isn't it?
Incredible, yeah.
I'm on season 3. I think we're at something like episode 70.
Wow.
And it's
In
amazing.
the top 1%, yeah.
I'm in the top 1%. No one's ever said that to me about anything ever. But yeah, incredible. So, mate, you have started like a steam train, though. I mean, you've got some serious guests on early doors.
Yeah, it's got loads have been recorded. You know what I mean? Here, I'm just backlogging them.
Yeah.
So, I still want to share a lot of my journey. Similar, you've inspired me to do this as well.
Yeah.
I want to share my personal journey as I keep growing. You know, the brands that I build and my document my journey. So I'm doing a solo episode, solo guest. So I'm taking it in turns like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Got another solo one coming up next, and then another guest. Got the TikTok guys doing really good money coming on. Got obviously yourself coming on. As I said, just had that Ben guy on that was really good.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. And you bumped into Simon Squibb.
Had Simon Squibb on.
That's amazing. How did that happen?
So I was going to Pret, just, you know, as I do working in Westfield sometimes. So I go there because I live just down the road in Hammersmith. So I go to Westfield, and I just saw some guy walking with a camera, with loads of cameras round him, a crowd round him. Straight away, I saw Simon's bloody grey jacket and his hair and his fucking crappy little microphone. I'm laughing because he's got it in that little stick with that tiny little Rode mic on it. Not even a problem. And I was like, it's bloody Simon Squibb. So I looked at him and I thought, I was like, I should go and say hello to him. I sort of stood in his area to try and get his attention. Wasn't having it. Nothing. Like there was people he was chatting to. He was just busy. So I was like, getting a bit anxious. So I went back to Pret, my comfort zone, got a coffee, sat there, and I was like, we don't need to talk to him. I sat there and I said, if I don't go up to him now, like it didn't, but it could have gone viral. Something we did together. He could have shared me on his channel. He hasn't yet. He said he would. He
Still
hasn't.
could, man. Early days.
Simon, you said you would.
Yeah.
He said he would. Anyway, so I was like, I could get some real compounding for my podcast here. So I said, as scared as I am, I just got to do it. So I just went up to him, went over to him, and I just said, hello, mate. Yeah, he seemed like a really nice guy. Came over to me. And he asked me what my dream was, and obviously 35 minutes later, we've just done a podcast episode, you know.
Brilliant.
I said, will you come on? And he said he'd come on as a guest properly in future, but we technically just did the first podcast, he reckoned, together. And he said he's going to do a follow-up on the podcast as well. So his guy that was working with him said that, you know, in 6 months' time, you know, we might, he didn't say he would, sorry, he said we might come to your podcast studio or whatever, and then just see how the podcast is going, and then we'll turn it into like a documentary. Have you seen he does these documentaries where he helps businesses? Yeah. So yeah, that might happen.
Wow. So the whole "you've got a dream" thing, that is an organic thing. It's not prepared before he puts the microphone on.
Wasn't prepared. No, it wasn't prepared at all. He just went, so what's your dream? You know?
Yeah,
And then the camera started rolling. What people don't know about that was that there was 3 cameras on me, 2 or 3 cameras, whatever, and a crowd of like 15, 20 people around me. And I'm talking to a highly famous guy
Yeah.
that I've only seen, and I'm like I'm just, mate, I'm a bag of nerves.
Yeah, man.
And I don't get nervous. I never get nervous. I've talked on camera for years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But trust me, when you're in front of a guy worth 50 million that's got 9 million followers, all his camera crew and a crowd around you,
Yeah.
I'm not good in them situations. I don't even like kissing my girlfriend in public because I get nervous of people watching us,
Right.
let alone a load of cameras around us.
Yeah,
You know,
mate.
I just the judgment, I guess, of people watching. Yeah,
Absolutely. I consider myself good in those situations, and I would be a wreck in that situation.
It
Because
was
you were not
tricky, yeah.
expecting it, are you? You're not prepared. It's just there.
it's because it's such an opportunity as well. I didn't want to mess it up.
No,
But,
damn
if
right.
I knew it now, I would have done completely different. Obviously,
Oh,
but
of course.
it was quite nice and raw, and people were commenting below the video saying how raw and cool it was. So
Yeah, it's lovely, mate. I loved it. It really great to see. Really great to see.
Yeah.
Because I got your voice notes and I've just bumped into Simon Squib. Like, what
Mate,
the hell,
I was
man?
telling everyone. I was like shocked. And Natalie was like, "Who's Simon Squib?"
No, she wasn't.
Yes, she was.
I love it. I love it. And I think this circles back as well. Remember, we haven't got much time left, but I want to get this in as well. One of the first things that struck me about you is your networking. Your networking, mate. You reached out. Well, actually, but how did it happen? You were a guest on Luke's Discord at the time, on Luke Harwell's Discord.
Years ago.
And I was in the crowd, and then Luke recognised my name and went, "Oh, Des, turn your camera on." And it was like, that was how we connected. And then you said, "Yeah, I'm in Brighton often. Let's meet up for a coffee." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have a bit of that." And
Yeah.
we met up. And you were the first one. And I'll say this quite often. You were the first one to say, "It's nice to meet another creator." And my imposter syndrome went to town on that. Like, what the hell? I'm not a creator. This is nuts. But I was. I just didn't. I wasn't ready to admit it or even explore
Yeah.
it. But you gave me the time, mate, and it really meant a lot. And then I would see your name on Facebook quite often saying, "I'm going to be in Pret in Camden," or "I'm going to be in Canary Wharf or somewhere. Come and meet me. Come and meet me. Come and meet me." That's a truly lovely thing, mate, and it's rare. So I think that you should be acknowledged for that because I think that's really good of you.
Cheers. Yeah, I never really thought about it. For me, it just makes sense, you know. Like if I'm going to an area, I'll just say, "Oh, I'm in Peterborough. Is anyone in the area?"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then usually someone on my Facebook, I've got quite a big network from when I used to be in the property space.
Yeah.
Usually someone would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm here. Let's meet for a coffee."
Yeah.
Like it just opened doors. Do you know what I mean? We wouldn't be here now if I didn't do that to you, probably. You know?
Exactly right.
We may be, but we may not. You know.
No, but it's the advice you gave me that I put into place. And when you're up and coming and someone who you aspire to be says, "Why don't you try this?" You remember that. It matters.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're just like a normal guy who's going around saying, "This is where I am." But when people meet you and they're like, "I want to get to where that guy's going," and you give them a bit of advice, mate, it matters. It really does. Yeah. So,
That's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it because to me, I'm just another normal guy. I didn't at the time. I wasn't looking at what I had like, "Oh, that's successful" or anything.
it's crazy.
I was just
isn't it?
meeting another, well, I thought nice guy. Do you know what I mean? So I guess I guess that's not letting your ego take you over. I guess. Yeah.
I think this is a thing, mate. So much of what we do is behind a screen, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's your phone or a computer or even in a sort of an environment like this, when you go out into the real world and you actually see people who say, "You changed my life." What a feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
What a feeling.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah. But, mate, where are you seeing yourself go in the next couple of years? What baskets are you putting your eggs in?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to tick over what I've got. I'm kind of maxed out in the UK space in the Amazon selling for me at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, in the current format that I do it, you know, I will, as I say, I will be setting up again in the USA in a more privatey label, sort of privatey, sound shabby, privatey label type thing. So as again, the moving parts, I just don't want loads of them. So, but I'll tick over what I've got there. Really push the podcast. Like I'm really committed to that, you know, and that's kind of like I see it as like my hub now, like it is for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything spawns off of that. Other opportunities, could be sponsors in the future, promoting my own amazing services that I come out with. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's going to be like the hub, but also to meet amazing people and genuinely just love doing it. So that's going to be the hub. Going to push that whilst ticking over what I've got, and then I've just made a decision to launch a private label brand that I should have launched a long time ago. So that's going to be really interesting. As I say, with a guy that sells brands for a living.
Yeah.
You know, he's sold a brand for 2 or 3 million.
Yeah.
He's a serious player. And yeah, he's just said that he wants to team up on me on that. So
Lovely.
that's where I'm going there. Yeah. So get a bit more serious about less moving parts, but more more of a serious sort of e-commerce brand,
Yeah.
which I will document on the podcast as well. And then the podcast, yeah. So that's what I'm most excited about now, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's it, mate. I think that's it. I think I'm going to be in a similar trajectory. I think just a couple of things and the podcast as a hobby that with a view to keep it growing. Because I think, mate, when we hit like years 3 and 4, maybe then we can start turning the corner. But even then, mate, I'm having a lovely time. It's a nice thing to do.
Yeah, you've got to enjoy it, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's that compounding as well, isn't it? Then weekly episodes, like that's what you're so good at, you know. Have you missed a weekly episode since you started?
No, never.
Wow,
Never.
And you've done how many? 75.
Something like 75, yeah. And I'm now doing 2 a week.
When did you start to see the compounding? Sort of catching up with the regular viewers. Did your regular viewers just go up and up and up?
Yeah. It's gone up. You can see the chart go up, and it stays up. If you know what I mean.
Because the same viewers are returning because they're remembering.
Yeah, my best episode is still episode 1.
Wow.
People, some reason, go right. I'm going back and I'm listening to all of Des's episodes, and it always starts.
I do that to loads of people.
It's
all the big
crazy.
podcasters.
I never thought that was a thing. I did on YouTube, but not necessarily on the podcast. What's really lovely is like this time of year when people start getting their Spotify Wrapped, and people message you say you were my #1 podcast. Oh, what? It's lovely.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really nice. But I do love it. It is, yeah, thoroughly recommend it. I talk about it a lot. I don't know why people aren't doing more podcasts.
It's because it's so hard in the end. From first-hand experience, just starting one, and I had one before. I guess the reason I gave that one up before because I didn't want it enough, and the momentum wasn't kicking in soon enough.
Well, you had other fingers in other pies that were more pressing and making more money at the time as well.
Yeah, but that took me away from something that that is my #1 goal. The podcast is my #1.
Yeah.
You know, like without the media, I don't really want any of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, that is my passion. I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you don't get immediate return on it. That's the issue, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And again, like we were talking about, mate, nothing for you in the past lives. You wasn't yet. That's
Wasn't
all it is.
there. Yeah, I wasn't ready for it then. Yeah.
That's it. This is the one.
That's
man.
really true. That's a big takeaway.
Love it. Right, on that bombshell, where are we finding you?
Yeah, Make It Big podcast. So
Make It Big
yeah,
podcast.
Make It Big. Just Make It Big on Spotify, Apple. It's Mr. Hayden Make It Big on YouTube, and then I'm Mr. Hayden on TikTok, and then I'm Mr. Hayden Official on Instagram.
Perfect.
I only put official because I was getting loads of spam accounts,
Oh,
but now
mate,
they're just
yeah.
called Make It Mr. Hayden
Yeah,
Official
they're
as well,
official as well.
with a hyphen or
With
something.
one F. Yeah, exactly right. But mate, we'll put all the links down there, the correct links in the
Oh,
old show
appreciate that,
notes.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll get you on. That's all good, mate. Definitely come back. Well, I'll come back to your studio and talk to you again in your environment. But yeah, we'll do that. That sounds great. And yeah, buzzing to hear how the brand goes and how the podcast goes. But we'll be keeping an eye on you.
For sure, mate. It's been great.
Top man. Cheers, Hayden.
Thanks, Des.
And we're out.
And we're done.